Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be mastering the UMP-45 for the Engineer class in Battlefield 4. Now, this is a fun little PDW. It's a very popular PDW. The gun's main benefits are good hipfire accuracy and high damage per shot in close quarters. The damage drop-off with this gun is extreme, and you'll actually drop all the way off to 15 damage when you hit 40 meters. So it's not really going to be doing that great of damage at range. So like most PDWs, you're going to want to try and play at close range. Even though the rate of fire isn't great, the damage per shot is good enough that you can outdamage people in CQB, plus the hipfire accuracy is good enough that you don't need to ADS, so it's going to give you a slight advantage in terms of who starts firing first. This gun has pretty tame recoil overall, so when you're equipping attachments you don't necessarily need to compensate for any sort of vertical or horizontal recoil. Thus I've attached the ergo grip or vertical foregrip, which helps me with my hipfire accuracy and my aim down sight accuracy while I'm moving around. And I know I'm always talking about not running with laser sights, and I'm sure this setup would work just fine without a laser sight. However, I've put it on here just to compensate a little bit for the suppressor's reduced hipfire accuracy. I thought I would be hipfiring a lot more with this setup, and I'm kind of going half and half with the amount of hipfire versus ADS. And I don't know if the laser sight's really worthwhile, but I was using it and it was working out just fine. You might have also noticed that I'm using the RPG a little bit more than the small. That's pretty much basically because I've already mastered the small, and I may as well work on the RPG now. There is a difference between the two. I prefer the small overall, but the RPG is certainly a capable weapon. It even does a little bit more damage to vehicles than the small. Now normally I'm running a Coyote sight or a Cobra sight to get that minimalistic housing, but I just think the EOTech looks really cool on this gun, and since I was planning on hip firing a lot, I decided it didn't really matter too much what kind of red dot sight I had. I like the EOTech in general, it's just that housing always gets in the way. And that's actually been something that's always aggravated me in video games, is optics that are normally really good in real life, but just don't make it over into video games because the housing is rendered in such a way. That's something I'm actually going to talk about a bit more in tomorrow's video if you want something a little more in the realm of game design concepts. Now you'll notice from a lot of the gameplay here that I'm not only the first one to get the shot off in most of the firefights I'm having, but I'm usually the only one to be shooting. Not every case obviously, but that's the benefit of the suppressor really, is you have that stealth capability. Not only are you not popping up on that mini-map alerting everyone to your presence, but once you start shooting it becomes much more difficult for the enemy to kind of track you down. It also doesn't really help that Battlefield has such inconsistent hit markers. Nowadays when I get a hit marker I feel like it's a good 25% chance that it's totally pointing me in the wrong direction. If I had to guess, I'd say that at least half of my deaths when using an unsuppressed weapon are from people just locating me on the minimap rather than anticipating where somebody's going to be flanking from or hearing the shots from my weapon and flanking me from that. They're just seeing the little triangle on the minimap and coming around and taking me out. So effectively they're getting the jump on me. Now in close quarter team deathmatch maps like this with a suppressed weapon, you just want to go for the flank every single time. You'll see me slowly working my way up the left side of this map here. And I'm taking out one target after the other, trying not to engage too many players at once, but basically because I'm using that suppressed weapon and I'm killing my opponents pretty quickly, I can assume that I'm not spotted for the most part, and this allows me to sneak around the map, and if the enemy team sees me on that mini-map, they're going to start reinforcing this flank, so I'm going to have players waiting for me or popping out and taking shots at me as I come around. But since I'm using that suppressed weapon, I'm able to round this corner up here and basically get a pretty easy kill because nobody has any idea that I'm coming. Now if you get into a good game of Dawnbreaker where the teams are relatively even, there's not a lot of spawn camping going on, this map becomes perfect for sneaking around with suppressed weapons. There's a lot of little room combat in the center of the map, so you don't have to deal with long range targets, you don't have to deal with being exposed at lots of different angles. You can just focus on room-to-room combat, which is where the UMP-45 really excels. And you're going to see me here getting a lot of kills by shooting players in the back. I get a nice rear flank going on here, nobody spots me, and basically I've just got this angle where lots of players are going to be running past me, and nobody's going to have any idea where they're getting shot from. And I could say this is due to the UMP-45, but let's be honest, any weapon with a suppressor in this situation is going to be capable of the exact same thing. The UMP-45, however, does have a very nice fast reload of 1.85 seconds, making it very ideal for close quarter combat situations and situations where you just need to reload quickly to deal with multiple targets. Do be aware that the magazine can only carry 25 rounds plus the one in the chamber, so you're going to have a little bit less than the 30 round mag you might be used to from other weapons. However, you're doing 33 damage max per shot. This makes it a 4-shot kill. It used to be a 3-shot kill before DICE came through and did the big damage nerf to everything, but it's still a 4-shot kill, whereas your standard like AR or Carbine that does 24 damage is a 5-shot kill. So keep that in mind. Even though you think you might have a gimped magazine, you still have plenty of killing potential in one single mag. Again, you see a lot of this hip fire in close quarter combat gives me that time advantage. Now, how much time advantage will you actually get from not aiming down sight? Aiming down sight takes about 180 milliseconds, or almost a fifth of a second. Being that the average gamer reaction time is probably around 200 milliseconds, in effect it's kind of like doubling your reaction time in close quarter combat for how long it takes before you're actually putting rounds into your opponent. So hipfire is actually a pretty damn big advantage when you think about it. Now always remember that you have some sort of rocket launcher to back you up in combat. This is probably one of your most valuable tools and weapons. Do not ever run without a rocket launcher on the engineer class. I mean, you could, but I would not advise it. Every wall and window that somebody's hiding behind now becomes an opportunity for you to get an easy kill, as long as you've got a rocket reloaded and at the ready. It's also great for taking out targets at longer ranges. Players stand still, makes them an easy one-shot kill. And there we go, checking off that UMP-45 500 kill mastery dog tag. And I'm surprised I didn't actually get it sooner, because I feel like I used the UMP-45 a lot. I guess just not quite as much as I had thought. Now, something that I really like about Battlefield Hardline's mastery setup is the fact that you get a gold camo unlock at 500 kills, which symbolizes to anyone around you that you've gotten a lot of kills with that weapon. You're kind of sort of in the elite tier of that weapon, if you will. I think it would be cool if Battlefield 4 gave you a custom camo for 500 kills. I don't know what it would be. Maybe you'd get the black dice camo or something like that. Obviously, you don't want to start throwing gold guns into BF4. It's more of a military game, so it wouldn't quite fit in, but that black dice camo would certainly be a very cool reward for the 500 kill mark. Now I've switched it up here to lockers to finish off some gameplay, and normally I don't really recommend lockers if you're running a suppressed weapon setup, just because of the cluster aspect of lockers. Sometimes there's so many players and there's so few flanking routes available that the suppressed weapon just doesn't really do you any favors. But when I play lockers, I try and play 32 players or less. I honestly think 24 players is kind of ideal for lockers. It allows people to move around the map, and you'll notice that a lot of maps that you might have not otherwise liked become much more enjoyable on the lower player counts. So when you are able to move around and be a little bit more dynamic with your gameplay, that's where this loadout is basically going to come in handy. Being able to move is great because you can side strafe and hip fire with this class, and it's still going to be pretty darn accurate, whereas other players really can't do that very much. Once lockers hits around 40 players, that's where you start to get these extremely choke pointy situations. You have a bunch of people piled up on either side of a doorway or an alleyway, and then the suppressor and your movement doesn't really matter. It doesn't give you any benefit. So you have to keep that in mind. Make sure you're using it in the right situation. As with all weapons and all loadouts in Battlefield, they're simply going to be better in certain situations versus others. Now this last clip here is just an embarrassing clip, both for me and the players I'm going against, and frankly just the spawn system in Battlefield 4. I'm having people pop up all in front of me right now. They're not even seeing me, and I'm somehow able to stay alive and get a bunch of stealth pistol kills. Luckily, we ended their suffering pretty quickly, and the game started to balance out a bit better after this round. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for the UMP-45 mastery. Let me know in the comments which weapon you'd like me to master next. There's a list of available guns in the video description. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.